I had probably 30 clients on retainer. This was probably my junior year of college. I had 30 clients on retainer, 8 or 9 staff members at this point, and it was totally unsustainable because every single client was under that same arrangement that I was just describing to you. We hadn't evolved it yet at that point. It was, we'll do whatever we can do for you.
Yeah.
Whatever you need to be successful, we'll do for you. And that worked great when it was just me doing it for 3 clients.
Yeah.
And when there was just 3 of us doing it for 9 clients, right? But eventually, what we were doing for all these people was so scattered, and quality assurance was falling apart. And our ability to deliver consistently was falling apart. And our ability to keep track of timelines was coming apart. And I kept having to try and re-engineer a system to keep track of everything. And it just wasn't working. It was chaotic. The people who were working with me were doing their best. And I would even say they were talented people at that time, even though we were all kids. It was completely down to everybody consulting my brain for every decision, and everyone was burnt out. We were making good money, but it wasn't really sustainable. So I was talking to a friend about the issue that I was having, and he recommended a book to me. It's called Built to Sell. At that time, I had no intentions of building an agency for the purpose of selling it or having any kind of an exit strategy. This was my first introduction to that concept. But what they talk about is building a systematizable, productized service business, which is a whole area of expertise that I didn't even know I was missing. But once I read the book, everything clicked. And I made this really hard decision to slash 80% of our retainers and keep the ones that were the most profitable, that were the happiest with us, that were doing one service. And that service was web design and web maintenance.
Sure.
So that was what our business became. And as a result of that, I had to let go of staff as well. And that's why it was so painful.
Yeah.
Giving proper notice and terminating a contract is one thing, but letting go of staff who've been working really hard with you is substantially harder. I also had to take a personal pay cut for a while, but I'd built some savings, so I was going to be okay. But it was 3 steps back to hopefully take 6 steps forward. You know, that was kind of what it felt like.
Yeah.
And it was scary.
You know, one thing that hits me in that story is you talk about letting staff go, particularly when you're letting staff go that did exactly what you asked them to do when they joined the company.
It's always your fault.
And your focus changed, not what they were doing, even though it was the right thing for the company. Doesn't hurt any less to know that, like, you didn't even do anything wrong. I just changed my mind on what I wanted to focus on, and so I was wrong about your. I've been there, and that's harder than telling a client, "Hey, I'm not going to do business with you anymore."
For
you
sure.
know, you've made promises to people, and sure, it's an employment contract that can be terminated, but that feels really shitty when you have to go through that. I'm sure that took some bouncing back from on your side.
It sucked. And I'll tell you what, I'd be lying if I said that was the only time it's happened. I think it's happened twice, that time and one other time. And it never gets easier.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that so many entrepreneurs deal with. It's one of the things that no one really tells you you're going to go through when you talk about, oh, I'm going to build this business. And sure, like, the money is great. The vision is cool. Like, being ready to go after your dreams. But you're also making a lot of promises to people that when you make the promise, like, you intend for that to be there forever, but it goes away. The vision changes over time. And what's right for the business, sometimes you put yourself in a situation where you kind of have to do some soul searching yourself to realize, like, wow, like, is this what I really signed up for when I wanted to start my own business? And you're doing this as a junior in college, right?
Yes.
I mean, so just the fact that you had 10 employees as a junior in college, you're running a business, you've got tens of thousands of dollars of monthly recurring revenue coming in, and you make this decision to downsize it into websites. Okay, that sucks to live that day, but now talk me through making that decision and where you sit today with your business being focused on what you're really, really good at now.
You know, it was a painful decision to make, but it was also an easy decision to make. The life that all of us were living was one of stress, uncertainty, lack of sleep. No one that I let go of was being let go of a happy work-life balance.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And we were, I thought we were paying them well, but looking back at it, they were probably underpaid as well. So maybe this sounds like justification, and maybe it is. But when I look back at that time, I see that was going to fall apart anyways. I just decided it's going to fall apart today so those of us who are staying with the company can grow.
Yeah.
And the rest of us, and the rest of them had to, unfortunately, go find other means of supporting themselves. In terms of how that moved us forward, it was obviously the right decision. And later on, we started adding back in services, but adding services on once you're a successful company versus adding services on because you're just trying to say yes to everybody, that's a different process.
Yeah.
And I would encourage most people who are running a service business, if you're running a service business watching this, limit what you do. Do as few things as possible until you're very, very good at those things, and then add on additional services. I promise you, it will save you so much pain, so much money, so much wish I wouldn't have done this 10 years later.
It's counterintuitive, though. I think a lot of people, especially in the SMMA space, think, well, if I do the websites and if I offer them these 9 other services, they won't churn as fast on these contracts I have them on. But you speak from experience, and no, this is going to be better for everyone long term to do it this way.
Absolutely. Because you know what's definitely going to make people churn is if you start breaking promises. And the fastest way to start breaking promises is to overpromise.
Yeah.